Welcome back to the CSP Elite Baseball Development Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Cressey, and this is episode 192. We've got an awesome college pitching coach on today as our guest. He's a guy who actually trained with us as a college and professional athlete and then went to the coaching ranks after his pro career wrapped up. Has done a really good job in three different places, all different geographic scenarios, different levels of baseball. And I think he's got a lot of wisdom to share about a lot of the hot topics in college sports, whether it's the transfer portal or NIL. A lot of those things that kids and parents are really asking a lot of questions of me, and they seem to be moving targets from day to day. So we hone in on that. And we also talk about some of the key competencies that were in place for his culture changes, where he's been, and just understanding how to turn a pitching staff around and really see the outcomes that they saw in his first year at a new program this year. So really exciting stuff, both for the aspiring coaches in the audience, as well as the players and the parents. So I think we're in for a good one. This episode is brought to you by AG1, the most comprehensive NSF certified for sport daily nutritional supplement I've ever tried. With so many stressors in life, it can be difficult to maintain effective nutritional habits and give our bodies the nutrients they need to thrive. As a father of 3 young kids and a co-founder of multiple businesses in multiple states on top of still being an avid exerciser, I know that busy schedules can really take their toll on us. Whether it's poor sleep, exercise or life stressors, environmental factors, or simply not eating enough of the right foods, we can often wind up deficient nutritionally. This is where AG1 can really help. It's a game-changing nutritional insurance policy. They simplify the logistics of getting optimal nutrition on a daily basis by giving you just one thing with all the best things. That's why I use it daily, as do several of my family members, and we recommend it to a lot of our top athletes. One scoop of AG1 contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients that work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet to support energy, focus, digestion, and recovery. And this can all happen for less than $3 per day and without taking multiple products. While most nutritional supplements come to market and stay stagnant, AG1 continues to obsessively improve this one holistic formula based on the latest research, producing over 50 improvements in the last decade alone. They invest in the most absorbable and natural source of each ingredient and go above and beyond in third-party testing to ensure their customers continue to receive the highest quality and best tasting nutrition habit on the planet. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it'll work for you, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar per serving. They put 75 ingredients through the rigorous NSF certification test to come up with a safe formula that's trusted by some of the world's top athletes, including many of our own at Cressey Sports Performance. Right now, AG1 is giving our listeners a special offer of 10 free travel packets with their first purchase. Just head to drinkag1.com/Cressey and claim this special offer. These travel packets are perfect for supporting your immune system, energy, and gut health while you're traveling for games, training, or simply on the go. They can be great counterbalance to the less than ideal on-the-road food options that are out there for a lot of our traveling baseball players. So if you want to bridge the gap between deficient and optimal and give yourself the best chance of getting nutrient diversity, head to drinkag1.com/Cressey to get 10 free travel packets with your first purchase. Again, that's drinkag1.com/Cressey, Cressey. You won't regret it. Today's guest was raised in California, but attended the University of Connecticut as a two-way player. He was an All-American in 2011, and the Chicago White Sox selected him in the 19th round of the 2011 MLB draft as a pitcher. He played 5 years of minor league baseball between the White Sox and Arizona Diamondbacks. He'd already earned his undergraduate degree in coaching and sport administration from UConn in 2012, but returned to school at the end of his pro career to earn a master's degree in sports leadership from Northeastern in 2016. He started his coaching career as a volunteer assistant at the University of Rhode Island in 2016 and spent the next 4 years as URI's pitching coach and recruiting coordinator. In 2022, he was hired as Boston College's assistant coach and recruiting coordinator, a position he held for 2 years before being hired to an assistant coach and pitching coach position at the University of Arizona. As you'll learn in this discussion, in 2024, his first year with the Wildcats, the team saw significant improvements in pitching outcomes, and those performances contributed to regular season and conference tournament championships in the Pac-12. Please welcome to the show, Kevin Vance. Kevin Vance, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I am incredibly impressed at your attire for this evening's interview. I can't believe you dug that out of the closet. So nicely done, nicely done. For those who are listening, it's a CSP shirt from probably the early 90s. We're dating ourselves here. But hey man, you've had such a cool progression. I joke, I think the first time I met you. You were a UConn freshman third baseman. You came to the facility with your older brother, who I think was playing pro ball in Germany at that point. He was in with some of his Harvard teammates. I remember you came in that day and you back squatted the house, and then you became a college pitching coach. So clearly, there's an interesting trajectory that happened in the middle. So maybe fill our listeners in on how you wound up where you are today.
Yeah, you're the only one that could really show me up in the weight room over there.
Oh, come on.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it kind of took the road less traveled. I'm from San Diego originally, and that's crazy in itself to end up at UConn, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And yeah, and first of all, like going in there, and when it was 2010 or whatever it was when we met, like that was a big moment for me. So I just wanted to say that, like, you've been a big influence on me in terms of, just you're the first one to kind of individualize things for, in baseball and, getting down to the nitty gritty of baseball stuff back then. And it just opened my eyes and, kind of sent me down the path that I've been on now, trying to individualize things on the pitching side. And, I've always, I've stolen all your exercises and used them with all our guys for the last how many years. And so, yeah, that was, I'm glad I made that trip and, continuing to train there because that was awesome for me. That's a big part of who I am. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I'm curious, like, what's the path where, I mean, do you have that hard conversation with, Coach Penders at the time? Like, hey, hitting's not working, but you got a good breaking ball. Let's try this. Or how did that all come about?
Yes. So I was a hitter. I went in as a hitter, as a shortstop, recruited as an infielder.
Mhm.
Played a little bit to start the year as a freshman. Got beat out by Nick Ahmed and Michael.
Pretty good players.
So, I wanted to contribute, and I pitched in high school too. And, I started to pitch my freshman year, my sophomore year. I actually was like our everyday DH. I was kind of a liability at third, defensively. And then, it was honestly, we were so good.
Yeah.
That, and I had a more of a future on the mound. I couldn't hit a breaking ball. I just never missed heaters. But it was more, for my future, I could see the path to the next level. And for what was best for the team, honestly, we had LJ Mazzilli who, ended up DHing instead of me, and, he made it to AAA. And
Yeah.
so combination of both, couldn't hit a breaking ball and, but I could throw one. So
There you go. That was a really good team. I mean, I think there was like five big leaguers between 2010 and 2011, right? With Olt and Ahmed and Barnes and Springer and Andrioli,
yeah,
right? And then a
yeah,
bunch of guys like,
six.
yeah, even more so. Andrioli was
Yeah,
good, but like people forget about Greg Napo, got real close and in
yeah,
AAA and always pitched a lot of big games. So a lot of fun guys to work with too, and guys that went far in minor league baseball too. Um, how did you wind up getting into the college coaching ranks? Because that's a big transition for a lot of people where, with playing, you kind of have to be inherently, I guess selfish is what I always say. Like you have to train when you want to, eat when you want to, sleep when you want to, and like you're chasing that big league dream with your time in pro ball. But when you've got to make that shift to coaching, a lot of things changes. So how did you wind up, obviously now at Arizona? What was the path to there?
yeah. So after my career, I was actually playing indie ball my last season, and Coach Serrato at Rhode Island called me in the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, and he needed a pitching coach, and I always knew I wanted to coach. Like playing for Coach Penders, I think that kind of solidified it for me. Like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and played for 6 years, and I knew I was on my way out, and I actually I accepted the job there and then finished the season. So I had about a month knowing like I'm done, which was really cool. And I actually went 9 scoreless to end my career, which
That's
is
awesome.
something I tell the players all the time. Like I didn't care anymore, and I did so good, and there's something behind that. But through my last professional pitch, and then I was actually at practice at Rhode Island the next day. Just get right into it. I don't need to let's start coaching now. And so started at Rhode Island. I was there for 5 years with Coach Dorado, who I actually knew through Nick Ahmed. He's his uncle. So that was the connection there. And that was an awesome place for me. They're family to me still. Kind of my first spot to learn how to coach and work with guys and, figure out all the other stuff, the admin stuff, got to grind there,
Yeah.
like do the mound and like see if, it's like, do you really want to coach? And
Yeah.
so it's a really good experience, doing a bunch of different things. And we were awesome there. We had a lot of success and, then went to BC, 2 years there with Coach Gambino. That was awesome, learning just from great coaches and, how to run a program. And, we killed it there. It was fun. My second year, the most ACC wins in program history, and just really like made me get excited to coach because it was a full, culture change, not just pitching and getting guys better, but I think the mindset and the culture like really shifted in that second year, and um, you know that excites me as a coach. And then this year was the same thing, coming to Arizona. I think all the pitchers got better, but they were dedicated to getting better. You could see a culture change, and that's what really gets me going. You know, Shaping a nice slider is cool too, but I think the culture was what was different at a lot of these places. And so yeah, it's kind of my path, and now I feel like I'm closer to home. Back close to San Diego, and so been all over, but really fortunate to be with some awesome coaches, the assistants with me, and the head coaches. So yeah.
Worked out well. I'm always super fascinated by the concept of culture change. Um, and obviously you've done it now 3 times, from Rhode Island to BC, and now with a year under your belt at Arizona. And we'll talk about some of the cool things that changed. But I'd love to hear about some of the lessons learned, like along that path, like what initiatives that you think were really key to the success that you've had at those 3 different places. What was were there, I don't want to say key taglines that were thumbtacked up on the board, but certain principles that you think underpinned a lot of that success?
Yeah, I think it's keeping it simple. I since my playing days have become fluent in TrackMan, and that's a big part of what I'm doing, and getting guys moving right, and breaking it down, doing assessments, and
Yeah.
nerding out with the guys. But keeping it simple and simplifying it at the end of the day, is what allows them to compete. You know, like this year, our slogan kind of organically just became "Win every pitch."
Mhm.
Uh, and that's such a simple mindset, and we're going to put in all the work, and we're going to get in the weeds with how much horizontal break your slider has, and how much access to ER you have in your backside, like and but at the end of the day, it's let's throw this pitch here and let's trust it with 100% conviction, and just kind of balancing, in a sense, I guess the old school and the new school, I
Mhm.
think, is what I've found has been the most successful. Not falling behind on what's new, but also not losing that edge, and I came up without any of that stuff, and keep it competitive too. I think it's just a blend of both that is kind of the sweet spot.
Do you find that like today's, I mean, it's kind of leading to my next question, but do you find that today's like incoming freshmen have almost been conditioned for that analytical bias? Like, you go to showcases, you throw an inning, all you really care about your velocity and your pitch movement, all this stuff. And, half the time the kids are on a on a Uber to the airport before the game's even over. So there's definitely like a little desensitization to losing, I think, in today's game, because there's always a new event next weekend or anything like that. So do you find that you almost have to recalibrate them to that level of simplicity? It's like, hey, we're here to win.
Yeah, for sure. It's good and bad, right? Like a lot of the guys will come in with an understanding of how to read a movement plot, or they've been to 14 different facilities and pitching coaches, and
Yeah.
which is all great. But you definitely see, some guys are overcoached, and that's a
Mhm.
problem too. So a lot of the times you feel like you got to shake some of that out of them, and almost start with a clean slate with some of these guys, because they're so bogged down, and all the information that is out there,
Mhm.
again, which is great. Like I say it all the time, you can become a really good pitcher just going on YouTube and Google, and but if you're going down the wrong rabbit hole,
Yeah.
that can cause problems.
Yeah. That can't teach you to, to be confident, bases loaded with two outs in the ninth. Like it's not going to give you
Right,
that perspective. So I'm
right.
curious, we talked about incoming freshmen, and I think a lot of the kids that listen to this are often listening with their parents, people who would love to be, future Arizona Wildcats, or, some school that maybe is in that tier of discussion. But we both know that kids and parents are, not by their own fault. They're just naive and unprepared for this college recruiting process because you don't get a do-over. Like, it doesn't come with an instruction manual because they only do it once in many cases. But just as importantly, it's evolved a lot in the last couple of years. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you think high school players and parents make in whether it's in the outreach to colleges or just the way they approach the entire recruiting process?
Yeah, I think you just got to be realistic. One, be realistic about like where you can play. Ask someone that's coached or has played in college, and you know, be honest with yourself. There's a place for everyone in college baseball. I do, as long as you're, one of the better guys in your high school team, you can
Yeah.
play in college. And so finding the right spot, like, put your ego away and
Mhm.
decide what's best for you. It's not about the cool logos or, NIL money, and you gotta find what's right for you. Find people that you feel comfortable with. People that are going to get you better. There's places that are, more of the cream rises to the top, and maybe that's not the best for you. Go to a place that's going to develop. You're going to have a good relationship with the coaches. Um, but yeah, be realistic. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
There's we do get like millions of emails and, people reaching out to us a day. And so be concise, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is who I am. And, I throw this hard.
Yeah.
Here's a video. I'm really interested,
Yeah.
um,
And that
there's
that should come from the kid, correct?
correct.
It's
Yeah.
always better to hear it from the
Please.
kid than some adult speaking on behalf of the kid.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Personalize it. That is one thing we can definitely tell when, there's 304 other colleges in the email.
Oh, that's
So
that. Oh, like the CCs. Oh my goodness, I've never
yeah.
seen that. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Um,
Or just like a generic, it's say something about the school if you want, but
mhm.
keep it concise. And, I think that's, you know, the simplest way to do it. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself. And I think it's cool in today's world, you can post videos of yourself on Twitter, and, that helps. Like,
People will find you.
I'll say if I ever get a call from a coach or, from anyone, like if you call me and said, "Hey, check this guy out," the first thing I'd do is probably go to his Twitter,
Mhm.
see if he, see what videos or,
See if it lines up.
yeah. So you can help yourself, in that, and just kind of, have an account. I think that is, in today's world, very helpful. So
Do you think? I always say that, like, I think kids and parents have like a misconception about the timelines of a lot of this stuff. Like, you'll talk to a senior in high school that says, "Hey, I want to go to the University of Arizona." I'm like, well, you threw 83 as a junior, and they don't know about you yet, and they've probably locked in their recruiting class pretty quickly. So unless you come out and like literally blow the doors off somebody, win state player of the year, it's going to be really hard for you to go there. Do you have like suggestions on the actual timeline about how kids should navigate the recruiting process, like certain benchmarks from freshmen, sophomore, and juniors? When do you want them to get on your radar is maybe a better question.
right. Yeah, to be realistic, it's, if you're throwing 75,
Mhm.
don't send me an email, or, don't reach out, and just put your head down and work and get
Yeah.
better. And, I don't want to give you like, you got to throw 90.
Yeah.
But, you got to be, I think the best way to look at it is, are you getting people out?
Mhm.
Are you hitting, are you one of your better
Yeah.
hitters, right? Like, then that's the benchmark. But, yeah, I think the timing, everyone's timing is different.
Mhm.
There's tons and tons of guys. There's, guys that we've got that haven't hit 90 till they're in college, that we get out of junior colleges, and so everyone's path is different. The timing, the windows for, yeah, Power Five schools are definitely earlier, than most. So, there's, yeah, it's about getting better yourself, and if you're not good enough to go to a Power Five school in your junior year, that's fine. And the portal, the transfer portal is a thing, so don't rule it
Yeah.
out in the future, right?
Yeah, it's opened more doors for late bloomers, right? Guys that need, an extra
Exactly.
year to figure it out. What do aspiring college athletes need to know about the transfer portal? Like, I feel like a lot of it adjusts day to day, but you're obviously in the thick of things. What would you relate to them, or what are the conversations you have with people about it?
Everyone's using it differently. There's definitely places that are just trying to rebuild, and are much more heavy in the portal, and some that are not using it at all, some that are just sprinkling it in here and there. So it's definitely, it's different for everybody, but I guess one thing that I have noticed is just the difference between high school guys, recruiting high school guys, and guys in the portal.
Mhm.
Just because they're grown up, they've kind of been
Yeah.
through the ringer, and maybe there's a reason they're in the portal. They didn't like it at wherever
Mhm.
place they were, and um, and it always goes back to, I didn't feel like I was getting better, and I felt like it was just kind of, I was on my own.
Mhm.
um, and that's something that, for high school guys, a lot of the times you don't see that stuff in the recruiting process. And I can't really blame you, or blame
Mhm.
kids sometimes, because I was probably the same way. You get enamored with the cool stuff, and
Mhm.
maybe not what's going to be best for you, and how you're going to get better. But yeah, I would say
Yeah.
it's not a good thing. Like, it's go to if you can get to a place where you are comfortable and you've liked the people, the best thing you can do is stay there and continue
Yeah.
to get better, so
Yeah.
that's why I bring that up. Is That's what the most of the time I see in the portal is guys that want to get better, that didn't feel like they were.
Mhm.
So just like finding that right culture of development in high school, in a
Yeah.
place where you feel like you can get better, is the important thing, so you can avoid going in the portal.
We interrupt this podcast with a quick reminder that this episode is brought to you by AG1. It's an NSF certified all in one superfood supplement that features 75 whole food sourced ingredients designed to support your body's nutritional needs. I use this product daily myself, and a ton of our athletes do as well. Head to drinkag1.com/Cressey and claim my special offer of 10 free travel packets with your first purchase. AG1 gives you peace of mind that you're covering all your nutritional bases. Again, that's drinkag1.com/Cressey, Cressey, and you'll get that special offer. I'm
you
curious
know
to see do you think we'll see almost like a correction where we do see colleges that are, they're dumping, 80% of their freshmen after their first year and going right to the portal. Like, obviously that's a pretty substantial roster turnover. And like every one of those guys is, it's a kid that's trying to find his way in this world. I'm curious, do you think there'll be a correction, in those, like where, it's one thing to go after one or two guys, but it's another thing altogether to go after 15 every year. It's a sign that either you're a terrible recruiter or you're just not getting people better.
yeah, I think eventually, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something that, we could talk in circles about
Yeah.
forever. But I do, yeah, maybe limiting, roster limits, and,
Mhm.
I think that's probably the best way to do it is,
Mhm.
hold people accountable for their recruiting.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, if you miss, you miss,
Yeah.
a little more of that, in there. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe people will get mad at me for that. I don't know. But
I don't think they will. I think it's honest. And I think it's also, I mean, I've heard the term Wild Wild West thrown out a lot over the last couple of years. Coach Pollard from Duke was on the podcast when, NIL was pretty new, and he's like, we really
yeah.
don't know what we're getting into. So I do think it's just uncharted waters for a lot of people. But let's talk pitching.
Yeah.
You've obviously, you alluded to it, like you didn't really have a lot of the tech, the edgertronics, the TrackMan, all that wasn't at your fingertips. Certainly like markerless biomechanics stuff, all that was not there. Well, I was at the University of Arizona back in 2007, and I distinctly remember them having like a really, really impressive cutting edge biomechanics lab that was like first of its kind. So maybe you got a little more of the bells and whistles there, early action. But I'm
Mhm.
curious, with pitching evolving so much over the past decade, particularly in the context of, certainly technology, but also just kids being so much better, so much younger. What are some of the non-negotiables of successful pitching? Like what hasn't changed in that time that you think is generationally important for young pitchers to be successful with?
Throwing strikes, being able to throw a couple pitches, two different pitches at least,
Mhm.
competitively.
Mhm.
Uh, those are especially at the college level. You
Yeah.
got to have two of them. Or if you don't, the one you have better be really, really good. I think pitching to your strengths will always be, will never change, in my opinion. Um, getting ahead in the count,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then just trust and conviction
Mhm.
for sure. Having a, calm intensity, finding your edge, right? I think that gets lost a lot and, a lot of, mechanical talk, finding trust and, it, finding rhythm and timing.
Is that hard to recruit, or do you have to develop it? I'm curious. Like, is it the calm intensity? I think was how you defined it, right?
Mhm.
Like, can you see that in a high school kid? I mean, you've obviously recruited, and I haven't. Or is it something that you have to find once they get on campus and you put them into some of those challenging situations?
I think you can definitely train it.
Mhm.
You can see it more, you can see it in a player
Mhm.
if you feel like they're on their way to, having that internal
Mhm.
focus on what they're doing. And you can see when guys are distracted by, external factors.
Mhm.
Anything as far like arguing with the umpire, all
Yeah.
those things that you look for. You can see all that for sure. I think, you can see how guys react when they throw a bad pitch,
Yeah.
are they on to the next one? So yeah, you can definitely physically see it, and it's all the things that people have been saying forever. Don't show bad body language,
Yeah.
right? Like that. That will always be a sign of, are you focused? Do you have that edge?
Mhm.
But at the same time, there are guys like, yeah, they have really good stuff. Maybe they don't have it as much, and
Yeah.
you need to train it. And I do think that you can, and we do. We talk about the process a lot, and finding that calm intensity, and visualizing the pitch, and then making it
Mhm.
happen, and putting them in pressure situations.
Mhm.
As we'll do stuff like competition bullpens where
Mhm.
it's one on one, and you get the whole team around, and everyone's watching you, just
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Um, and that's, I think that is, even when it's just the
Yeah.
players, and it's 20 guys around, that's harder to do than 10,000 people sometimes. And because, they're all watching you and they're right on you. And, so we can create some environments, and on the pitching side, and on the field too, right? You can put pressure on them defensively, do competitive stuff in BP. And I think the more that you do that, you can train it. You can train that focus level, and yeah, but yeah, definitely when we're recruiting, we'll look for who's closer to,
Mhm.
being a championship caliber player, and, championship
Yeah.
mindset. You can see that for sure, but um, we
I
also
love that.
train it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about like maybe building on that? Talk about the average preparation of incoming freshmen, say 2024 versus like what you saw in your first couple of years at Rhode Island. Obviously, you're recruiting in different parts of the country in many cases, different geographic climates, and then obviously, it's Pac-12 is a very advanced division. Like, what do you see, in kids nowadays that are maybe different than 5 to 7 years ago? And are there things that you don't see that you wish you did more?
Um, Guys are definitely throwing harder and or more physical. They understand certain things a lot better. Like we were saying before, sometimes it's too much,
Yeah.
and they're bogged down on it. Trying to think of the difference. I mean, there's shoot, the winning aspect is
Yeah.
is I feel like maybe slowly going away,
Yeah.
with just kind of the climate,
Mhm.
showcases and all that. But
Do you like to scout high school games more than travel ball games? Where, when guys do play for their high schools, it seems like there is a greater focus on winning, big games, things like that.
for sure, yeah, I think the end of the spring is um, one of the best times to recruit because it's high school playoffs and there's something on the line, and there's their girlfriends in the stands, and
Yeah.
it's there's pressure.
Yeah, they're two ways in many cases in that world too.
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
one other thing I've kind of noticed, and I've actually heard a couple other coaches speak about this, is it doesn't seem like young players watch the game the same way. It seems like they watch snippets of the game, they watch, pitching ninja, clips of certain things, but I'm not sure like and honestly, I don't know that I ever appreciated it until I was in a major league dugout, like seeing how many things that were going on within the game. Do you find that kids are maybe less prepared when they come about actually understanding like the big picture of the game, and it's more focused on just like pitch execution and that side of things? I mean, obviously you got to hold runners, you've got to field your position, you got to do a lot of other stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, you see that with, more so the freshmen for
Yeah.
sure. When, hey, I hit 94, or, what'd you think? How, or, even just, how'd you think I did? And it's like, well, you gave up 4 runs, so you know, you think about that for a second, and be able to, get better and identify what you need to do better, and like dedicate yourself to that process. That's what's missing a lot of the times. And, kind of along the same lines as what we're saying, and we can teach that to them. But yeah, definitely there's not, there's less of good self-evaluating, and,
Well said.
being able to make an adjustment on your own without me telling you to. You know, you're taking ownership of your own career, of your own routine. That's one of the best things that you can do for your career is take ownership, have some self-discovery in what you're doing, and don't rely on someone else to tell you how to do it. You should be able to, have a feel for what your strengths are, and
Mhm.
you know kind of do it yourself in a sense. And we're here to guide you, and to help you through that. And but it's ultimately up to the player. So I think
I
that
love
is
that.
of what is missing.
I think that's great. You kind of just set the guardrails, but let them figure out in those lanes. But maybe talk about a roadmap, right? Like if I'm a 15-year-old kid that's listening to this and I'd love to play at Arizona and potentially beyond Arizona, right? Like what are some steps that I should take, that to make me not just a kid that could play at Arizona, but maybe a championship caliber player there that could impact you guys in a big way? Like, what do you like to see in terms of the progressions on in the years that would come for a 15-year-old?
um, I think getting in the weight room, getting stronger, is one part of it. Getting in a routine. Um, I would I would say if you can get with someone who has developed baseball players before, go to Cressey Performance, a place or a place similar to that. Because that is helpful, and I think that will give you a leg up on, a lot of people. But because the good part about those places, and you don't have to go to those to a baseball specific facility or whatnot, but you do need to find a good routine that's going to help you get better. And usually those places are a
Yeah.
good place to start.
Just
Um,
be around other guys as well who have done it, who can kind of share some wisdom.
right. And then just get on a plan, have a plan, have short-term goals. If your long-term goal is to play at a place like Arizona, there's certain benchmarks that you need to get to, and be realistic with them, set your goals. Whether that's a daily goal, what you're going to get done this week, where you want to be at the end of the fall.
Mhm.
Every day matters. Get better every day. Kind of you got to eliminate the distractions.
Mhm.
Uh, whether that's recruiting and getting caught up in, does this coach like me, or am I going to play here? Those are all distractions, and they're distracting you from getting better and actually getting you to those places. So get better every day. Talk to people that have done it, and get on a good routine, get better every day. And, then pick your head up every now and then on those, maybe short-term or long-term goals that you have, see where you are, um, and then get back to work. I don't know. That's not like a magic pill answer, because there isn't
I think
one,
it's a great answer. One place I wanted to carve in a little bit more like depth is you talked about the idea of like, I think you use actually the word calendar in there is like have a yearly plan. I think a lot of kids struggle with that, right? Particularly good players that might be of the caliber to play at Arizona is, they'll get called by 5 different travel ball coaches to play at different tournaments. They'll have scouts wanting them to do scout days. And they're kind of in that awkward situation of, being afraid to say no to somebody and thinking that they always have to be showcasing.
Right.
When you guys have a guy that say recruits as commits as a junior or something like that, do you guys talk with them about like what the ideal calendar looks like for their senior year to make sure that they're in a good position for arriving? Like maybe share some of that wisdom about what you like to see in terms of when they're working on what, if they're shutting down for a period, if you're playing multiple sports, how does it all work?
Yeah, for sure. We will give them a legitimate 12-month calendar, with everything on it. That's like, I think, the best way to do it. You can see it all in front of you. Like, this is my whole year, built out each day. You don't, maybe not every day. You need some off days for sure. But that's part of it, like planning out your recovery. But yes, I do. That's a huge problem. I think that's maybe the biggest problem in college baseball and youth baseball is, how much guys are throwing and when, the ups and downs, and shutting down for a couple weeks, just to, I want to, it's not good for you. I've listened to all of your podcasts about it and have changed my, do I shut guys down? Not as much anymore. But yeah, I think just understanding the long term, just take throwing, for example, like just throwing only, like you need to have that mapped out for the whole year. And if it's not, then that's like where you need to start. And you can do the same thing for the weight room. You can do the same thing for your arm care. And, but for us, we need our guys to come in ready, in the fall. So in high school, we'll talk to them about if they're playing other sports, and they're going to shut down, then, make sure you do it for a while. But a lot of the times, like, we'll just have guys continue to throw and play catch and move around. So then they can properly build up. We'll send them like a 2 month at least build up, lead into the spring. Starting at 90 feet, keep it or starting at 45 feet, keep it simple. There's a million different ways to do it, but you can go up 20 feet each week, until you're maxed out and get on the mound, and then you got to build up on the mound too. It's not just throw 6 innings your first high school game, and you threw a couple bullpens before that. No, like you better have thrown 5 innings the week before if you're going to go 6, and you better have thrown 4 the week before that and 3 the week before that. And, that is the most important thing, I think, for arm health. If you're not doing that, then, or at least have a plan, then you're screwed. So yeah, for throwing, the buildup is all set, and we'll usually keep guys kind of oiled up in the summer before, if they're not throwing in games, just kind of keep playing catch, and then start getting off the mound a little bit more, building up into the fall, because we got to work, and then the same buildup but on a smaller scale for the fall, because we're just a little bit more conservative in the fall. We're not going to build guys up to 100 pitches in the fall. Because we want to get better. We want to be able to keep the volume a little bit lower and, get after it in our bullpens in the fall, make adjustments. And then, actually for the last 2 years now, I I haven't had any guys shut down. We've just continued. We've ramped down and continued
Yeah.
to throw.
Kind of idled it.
Yeah, just because felt like there were a lot of nagging injuries that would pop up if we did shut
Yeah.
down for a month or 2 months. So and that time is super valuable. We'll stay on we'll do plyos, we can make adjustments and just keep moving around. And that was a big time for us in development. In the fall was kind of that post fall quote unquote shutdown
Hmm.
period. We were still moving around because we didn't have that much time off, and it's different in college,
Yep.
right? Like, you really only get a month before you need to start building back up again.
Yep.
So we kind of just stayed idle and
Yeah. And that's in warm weather Arizona too. Like I have to assume that's extra problematic in a place like Boston College, Rhode Island, like colder weather, shut down. Every guy feels a little bit stiffer when they try to get it moving again.
yeah,
So I like
definitely.
that. Maybe you might have just given the cheat sheet to my next question, but in your first year in Arizona, you guys won the Pac-12, both the regular season title and the conference tournament. Team RA dropped, a run and a half. The K to walk ratio improved a ton. I'm sure there were a bunch of other metrics that I'm not even mentioning here, but you guys got exponentially better. What do you think the key adjustments were? I know we've talked about some like overarching principles, things like that, but can you put your finger on a few things that really enabled the staff to take such a big step forward, year over year?
Definitely. Just the introduction of TrackMan, honestly,
Yep.
is one part of it for
Mhm.
sure. I think we take a classroom approach, teach the guys, how to read it for themselves.
Mhm.
Educating them on arm care, throwing volumes and
Mhm.
intensity, like we talked about. So sitting down and teaching guys and showing them, hey, I'm not just making this up. I'm going to prove it
Yeah.
to you. That was a big part of it.
Mhm.
They learned who they are. We'll break it down and like, how are you moving? How's the best way for you to move? What type of mover are you? You know, what type of mindset do you operate best in? What are your best pitches?
Mhm.
Everything. That's who you are. So, teaching guys who they are, I think is where it starts. So then they can go and be themselves.
Mhm.
They're not faking it. They're not just hoping.
Yep.
They have the numbers. They have the your slider gets way more swing and miss now. Like now you're confident. Now you're truly
Mhm.
confident because that's measurable. You can see it.
Yeah.
So that was a huge part of it. I think we I think we throw off the slope more than anyone. We
Mhm.
get on the mound a lot,
Mhm.
and we'll some people think it's crazy, but like you'll see us after stretch and, every single guy is, we're throwing plyos off the mound, getting after it. We're throwing, doing our priming stuff and we're throwing med balls and doing water bag stuff. And, but then we're all throwing plyos off the mound with real focus. And every guy knows, exactly why they're doing each thing. There's millions of different things that you can prescribe to guys, drills, whether it's a janitor, or, all of
Mhm.
them. But everyone needs to understand why they're doing it for them
Yeah.
specifically, and what are they thinking about when they're doing it. So being able to individualize it for each guy
Mhm.
has been huge. To for to get everybody better. And that helps your team stay healthy because you don't
Yeah.
have to overuse guys and um, but I do think throwing off the slope for sure is one thing that
Interesting.
we do. Like our relievers probably throw off the mound every day when in the season. Like before
Interesting.
the game, just throw like 10 pitches off the mound.
Mhm.
Uh, and for the listeners, like I don't just all of a sudden tomorrow start throwing off the
Yeah.
mound every day. That's something that, we kind of naturally worked into. And it was
Mhm.
one of those deals where as a coach, I'm like, should they be throwing off the mound this much? And I've always fought it. And I'm like, are they going to get hurt? But I think there's something there. And maybe you probably have dove into this more than I have. And I'm curious what you think,
Yeah.
but kind of conditioning yourself for the mound
Yeah.
by being on it a lot, like
Mhm.
there could be a lot of benefits to that. And we were healthy all year, and and I think, and the things that we led statistically in the country are, strike percentage. We led the country in throwing strikes. We had the lowest walk rate, highest strikeout to walk ratio in the country. Um, and I think a lot of that is because we throw on the mound so
Yes,
much.
specificity. I think
Yeah,
the mound gets a bad rap in part because you're not comparing apples and oranges. Usually you get on the mound, there's more eyes on you, there's more tech on you. If you can match your mound intensity to whatever your flat ground intensity or catch play intensity is, I don't inherently think it's that much more stressful. It's just more specific.
yeah,
And clearly you guys reap the benefits of specificity with, fewer walks and more strikeouts. Like it makes perfect sense. Um, but I don't think a lot of like teenage kids understand how to gauge their efforts well enough to really do it. So they do need to
right.
be reined in that regard. But that's an interesting point. Good for you guys. All right, we always wrap up with a lightning round. And I know you're an educated guy, so I'm actually really curious about this one. What's one book that every player should read?
I'm gonna go. This might be cliche, or maybe has been answered 100 times on this, but the obstacle is the way.
A good one. There you go. What's one book that every coach should read?
The inner game of tennis.
Wow, I just actually listened to that, guys. He has The Inner Game of Stress now.
Okay.
It's a book that he collaborated with some MDs on to look at like if his principles from the tennis world could be applied to like ordinary health. It's actually a pretty good listen. So,
Hmm.
all right,
Yeah.
go back in time. Give young, we'll say high school Kevin Vance some advice. What would it be?
Be yourself. I know I've said that 10 times already, but it is simple. Be yourself. Don't care so much about what everyone else thinks. Um, go and work. Put your head down. You're really good. You're really smart. Trust yourself. You're gonna be fine. That
I
you'll
like that.
you'll yeah. Be yourself. Trust yourself.
It's good stuff. All right, we've kind of probably already given some of the answer to this, but we'll give us a succinct one here. Kids and parents who listen to this podcast together, often in the car on the way to a game or home from practice, give one bit of advice to the kids and one bit of advice to the parents.
Um, Enjoy the game. Um, yeah, don't forget to have fun. Um, enjoy the struggles of baseball as much as you can, because at the end of the day, it's just a game. You know, Baseball will prepare you for your life better than anything else, because you're going to fail, and you got to learn to deal with it. And at the end of the day, it's striking out. It doesn't matter, in the whole grand scheme of things. So have perspective on things, and enjoy the process, enjoy getting better, and because you're going to be a better person for that in the long run. And baseball is just a way of getting there, because it's going to end for everybody. And you're going to wish that you enjoyed it more, and you're going to wish that you embraced some of the bad things that happen, and maybe didn't stress yourself out so much about them. Enjoy it, or otherwise you're going to end up bald like me and Eric.
Oh, that's brutal. But hey, man, this is awesome. You got you're a good Twitter follow, man. It's at sorry about it 10. I think that handle goes way back to your playing
Yep.
days and the
2011.
college era. You stuck around. Thanks so much for taking the time. This is super fun and honestly, it's been awesome to follow your journey. You've been doing some cool stuff at multiple universities now, and those kids are really lucky to have you.
Thank you. You were a big part of that, so I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been cool to see. So keep doing what you're doing, fighting the good fight.
Will do. You too.